Welcome back, folks. Another late night Grin main event. A big one this week, right? A little longer than the first edition. More historic, I think, in its own way, which we'll get into a little bit as we go. Shoot, how are you, Dave, pal?
I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to watching this match. I've seen clips of it, but I've never seen the full match.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should. So, I mean, people probably read the title, but we're watching Nick Bockwinkel versus Hulk Hogan from AWA Super Sunday, April 24th, 1983. A very famous match for a lot of reasons, most of which don't have anything to do with the match itself, but
Yeah,
um,
yeah, definitely a moment in time deal here. Right?
absolutely, yeah.
One of those kind of snapshots of wrestling history. Speaking of such, shoot, but it's worth noting. Shoot and I are not experts by any. We're just kind of we've heard stuff, we've read a little bit, right, that kind of thing. But best you can, people are wondering why this match is particularly relevant. Paint the picture.
So from what I understand, at this point Hogan's starting to get very popular because Hulkamania started in the AWA. I don't think anyone disputes that. So I think he wrestled for the title a lot. It's hard to find the exact number, but it's something like 16 times. Obviously, he never won it. I believe at one point they retroactively changed that and claimed he had won it at one point. But in reality, he had never won it at the time. And this one here is the last time he wrestles for the title. This is probably safe to say the beginning of the end of Hulk Hogan in the AWA. And we'll talk about it as we go through the match, but that's like one of the great what ifs. If they had been able to keep him, there's not a whole lot of evidence that would make you believe they would have capitalized on it properly anyway. But it's definitely an interesting moment in time. This is kind of in a lot of ways, indirectly, this match is kind of the start of the boom of the World Wrestling Federation.
It is. It's like a bizarre alternate timeline where you get a glance at that boom before it happened over there. It's really, really quite unique in that sense. Okay, so obviously we've referenced here. If you go underneath this video or in the podcast feed that you're listening to this on, you'll have the link there. April 24th, 1983, Nick Bockwinkel, Hulk Hogan from AWA. So we're going to hit play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. Okay, we're rolling.
I wasn't sure which one of us were hitting play there.
I have to focus on counting, brother. It's too much for me. Here we go. Look at this prize fight style setup here.
Yeah. So this is the St. Paul Civic Center. I couldn't find exact attendance, but everything I read was around 20,000. Bobby the Brain Heenan is in Nick Bockwinkel's corner. I believe it's Mean Gene Okerlund there. This is
so that's what I'm talking about, man. It's like, it's kind of bizarre. It's just very strange.
He's the ring announcer, I believe Gene is.
Yes.
And here's Hulk Hogan coming out to Eye of the Tiger.
Incredible. That's a big part of this too. We haven't even touched on, right?
Yeah.
That's a big part of, like, I think in history, people think of that as Sly casting like a top WWF star in his film, but it was very much a big part in making him a top star.
Oh yeah.
Before, like, this is, I think that part kind of gets lost.
So he was, again, this is off the top of my head, so maybe I'm wrong. But let's see, there's a Hulkamania banner, exactly what we were talking about. Hulkamania was born here. But he was in the WWF and he wasn't the top guy. I think he was a heel still when he. So basically, what happened is he got offered the movie, and Vince Sr. told him no, right? And so that's why he left.
Yeah.
What does that?
Yeah.
Say?
I don't know. He was very much a guy who was like trying to figure it out, like who he was going to be as a wrestler.
The back of his tight shirt says "Now or Never," which is very fitting.
It is, yeah.
I think it says we want the belt.
Oh my God.
It does, yeah. We want the belt.
He has.
Yeah. But see, this is hilarious in the context of knowing that he doesn't win the belt. like on your surface, you're like, that's a great idea. He can sell those shirts.
Can we I feel like we've not fully appreciated the fact that he's wearing the shirt and has also just like held the shirt up as though we couldn't.
Yeah, and then gave it to Gene, expecting Gene to hold it up, and he's just kind of.
Well, he's a pro, you know.
Yeah,
he's a pro. Look at this, dude.
It's weird hearing Gene do ring announcer. Yeah. Stanley Blackburn there.
Now, the knock on the AWA has always been that when the big national boom happened, a lot of people say they never could have competed just because of how like kind of dry their product was. Right. I think you can kind of get an idea of what that means just even looking at this scene, right? Like, if you watch AWA, it doesn't take you long to figure out why that's a thing. That talking point. So,
if you watched our last episode, you kind of saw the way World Class, and obviously that's 2 years later, but
yeah,
timeline wise, this was World Class looked the way it looked in that match we watched in 1983, and contrast it to the way this looks.
Yeah,
so they're hitting there. They hit his music again.
God bless.
Now, see that I'll give them that. That's good stuff for them. Like, I'm kind of surprised.
Hulk is he's like noticeably more like defined here.
Yeah.
Than when he's like the top guy in WWF. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I guess he's like that more in the early days. I don't know. When I always think of him in the Hulkamania run, he's more like bulky than kind of defined muscle. You know.
I think part of it's probably the schedule. The
yes.
AWA schedule was much easier.
Full months off, right? They're like full season.
Yeah. Which is another thing that probably wouldn't have lasted in the. In fact, I think they started doing tapings once they.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
those bulk tapings in Vegas, but so Stanley Blackburn was the on-screen president, I think. Definitely the authority figure. I can't remember his exact title. Everything I've seen of him, he's very like bland. It's kind of like Jack Tunney. Like, why is this guy the? I think he was just friends with Byrne.
Pop. Do you remember Bockwinkel as WCW's authority figure?
He was good at that.
He was good, yeah.
That's not surprising, though. He's one of the best promos of all time.
Yeah, he's great.
And see, this is the perfect, which is, without going too much into modern stuff, you may have seen where Tony Khan had compared Jade and Stokely to Heenan and Bockwinkel, which was more the example of putting a mouthpiece with someone who doesn't need a mouthpiece. Yes. Heyman and Punk would be another example of that, where they don't need it, but it still elevates the act. In some ways, sometimes it's almost better to put a great mouthpiece with someone who doesn't need them because they can play off each other. So the referee here is Lord James Blears. He's a British man, Joe.
The only Brit that will ever appear other than me on Main Event.
Yeah, there you go. So he was a wrestler, an actor. He was in Magnum P.I. He was in the Wrestler, the movie.
Oh, man.
He qualified for the British swimming team in the 1940 Olympics, but couldn't actually compete because of World War II.
1940?
1940, yeah. I mean, if you look at him here, he's...
Yeah.
And the other thing, this will pop you, is he got recruited to All Japan by Rikidozen. I don't know. And then after he passed, he became like the American talent liaison.
Rocky Romero.
Yeah. And he was also on-screen authority figure for them. He was the chairman of the Pacific Wrestling Federation for All Japan.
Wow.
So he's got quite the resume. Like the little bit of research I did for this match, I ended up just getting distracted by Lord James Blears popping me huge.
Look at this, dude.
Yeah, we're doing a test of strength. Bockwinkel's using both hands. Oh,
Incredible.
So I'm actually really interested to see how Hogan works here because he's a very genuinely, he's a very interesting wrestler because he's got a reputation for being terrible, which I personally think is a little bit exaggerated.
Yeah.
But he definitely has moments where it's like he's someone who works the way he needs to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like he didn't and not the flip side of that is I think his stuff in Japan sometimes is a little overrated. People act like it's kind of the truth's in the middle.
Yes, definitely.
But
I mean, there are some matches in Japan from Hogan that are like genuinely like great.
Yeah.
But his style, people still overstate how much like range he had. Like
right.
You're right, truth's in the middle. Both sides overcorrect on the other, and
So this is a fascinating style matchup for me. Bockwinkel, if you're familiar with the Late Night Grin, you've heard me talk about Bockwinkel glowingly. But I actually haven't seen that much of him wrestle because the footage is just spotty.
Yeah.
Especially in his prime, it's hard to find. What I've seen the most of is promos where he's just maybe my favorite promo of all time.
Yeah, he's a great promo, all-time great. Famously brings it up regularly. Does Jericho, right? That that was who inspired his suit kind of heel run in the late 2000s. I think for a lot of people, which is kind of unfortunate, I think that's what they most know from Nick Bockwinkel.
Exactly,
frankly,
yeah.
So.
And that Jericho did a great job there, but he's no Nick Bockwinkel, and I think he would say that. That's not a knock on him. Like,
yeah, I think it's awesome. Jericho shined the light on that. Just more people I wish saw it than just knew it as the thing that Jericho did.
Exactly.
You're already seeing here that the style you mentioned, you're seeing that there's going to be some give and take here in terms of what each guy can do here, because it makes most sense for Bockwinkel to just be like a bumping heel, which is what we've got so far. I don't know how much he's going to take Hogan to the mat, I guess is what I'm getting at here, Not because Hogan can't, but because that doesn't feel like the right thing to do here, does it? Honestly.
No, it doesn't. And you can already see, and again, like we talked about before, the WWF schedule is insane, but you can see Hogan moving a little bit quicker here. Like even that drop down he just did is faster than what you're used to seeing from Hogan if you've seen his, late 80s or especially early 90s. But yeah, the big thing is it's a very fascinating thing because the WWF go-to model, which they didn't lean on it quite as much as people say they did, but was him against big guys. And so he would still he's this big, huge guy, but then he would still kind of be presented as an underdog. And you can't do that here. I mean, he's considerably bigger than Nick Bockwinkel. But again, it's that's again, like I said, that is another thing that can get up because, he worked Randy Savage for a long time and Savage is smaller than him. And Orndorff, Orndorff was jacked, but he wasn't like a monster.
Wow, look at Bockwinkel turning it on there and against the rope. Look at that.
Bockwinkel was very, very good. I think
he's one of the greats. Yeah.
Yeah. There's the assumption that he's like this old school. Look at that bump.
Great bump.
Right off the kick. He works this old school bland, basic style. And it's not totally wrong, but I think it undersells his athleticism and look at it. He's a tremendous seller. You can see you can see that already.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's probably safe to say, just nice little double stomp there. I think it's safe to say Bockwinkel's probably one of the smartest men.
Yes.
Certainly that got to the top in the history of professional wrestling.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I do not know.
Strong referee in there, by the way.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what Bockwinkel's role in all this was. Was he against Hogan winning the belt? Was he, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I could definitely see a world in which, and this is pure speculation on my part, I can't recall the story, but I could definitely see a world in which Bock wasn't, enamored with the style of wrestler that Hulk was.
Right.
Can you? Where by comparison, I think when he was wrestling a Kurt Hennig, he very much saw a lot of himself, and they were kind of cut from a similar cloth, just generations apart, or a generation apart.
Yeah. Bockwinkel was definitely open-minded. I mean, we've told that the Bryan Danielson story on here before, but I could definitely see him not getting Hogan. But at the same time, I feel like he would get how over he was.
Well, that's part.
That's the interesting thing that I wish I had looked up in advance.
Yeah, what I can recall, there's a lot going on here, right? Hogan, I believe, thinks he's getting kind of robbed on the money front, from what I can recall.
Yeah.
But I think that the Gagne family is kind of, well, let's be real. I think Greg in interviews has kind of alluded to this notion they didn't think he was up to it in ring. I think I could be completely wrong about that, but I seem to recall that being a talking point.
I mean, that sounds like something they would believe. Hogan is definitely someone you got to protect.
Yeah, but there's a level of over that's
yeah.
It's interesting. I don't know.
Protecting Hulk Hogan was Vince McMahon's greatest achievement, honestly.
Yeah. It's interesting. I guess if you build your product's identity so much around one stylistic ideology of this is real wrestling, this is the real. I guess it does matter more than maybe I'm giving it credit. I don't know.
It's just you go back to the crowd reaction.
Yeah.
It makes total sense that they did build their product around real athleticism but when the crowd's reacting like this to him, who cares?
Yeah, who are you trying to, who are you trying to please at that point, right? Is it just your own head canon at that point? Bock is doing incredible. How old is Bockwinkel here?
Let's see. He's got to be late 40s, right? Yeah. Because he was 50. I don't want to start doing this all the time, but that's one I am going to look up.
Because he is this whole match is him bumping. He's cutting Hogan. He's cutting him down with headbutts here. Just try to do anything to slow him down.
He's 48 here.
That's outrageous, isn't it? That's
his longevities, yeah. He was legitimately still good at 51, 50. When he retired, he didn't retire because he had to.
Mm-hmm.
The territory was dying, and he didn't.
Certainly was.
Yeah.
Look at bumping here and selling. Yeah.
He's a tremendous opponent for Hogan. There's no question about that.
Absolutely. It's interesting with Hogan, right? I think both of us went into this with an open mind in terms of what he would look like in this setting.
Yeah.
He's very kind of blank slate to me at this point. Does that make sense? His offense is neither here nor there, whereas obviously in a few years he has his whole set. He knows exactly what he's going to do every match.
Right. You can see the flashes of him figuring out though.
Yeah.
And because he just did the arm pumps that he would, become famous for when he's hulking up, and you can see the elements, but he hasn't put it all together yet. And
you can also see him doing stuff that he's seen other top guys do.
Yeah.
And isn't his thing. There's a famous one. I believe it's when he wrestles Terry at Saturday Night's Main Event, where he does a hip gyration. It's you watch it, you're like, oh man, Hulk was just doing stuff, right? That definitely, he would never have done that by WrestleMania 3,
No. So that lariat into the elbow drop, fuck, that ruled.
Yeah.
He's working with speed. Yeah. He got up on that elbow drop for a big man. Mm-hmm. That was
the lariat was his finish in Japan, right?
Yes, Axe Bomber.
Yeah, and he famously did the deal with Inoki. I remember reading about this in the Great New Japan book by Chris Charlton. I remember it being a thing. I guess Bock is wrestling like he's surviving here, huh? See, he put his foot back on the rope after he got kicked off.
What a pro. Yeah, this ref is interesting.
Damn Brits.
Because he didn't really do he didn't do the dramatic sell of the foot on the rope where you kind of.
No, he did the opposite. He completely undercut it.
Yeah, and then he kicked it off.
So the way they're working this, I'm really intrigued if Boc's going to get an extended kind of control.
He's hulking up here.
Yeah, because the way they're doing it, it's like Boc is slowly kind of chopping him down.
Yeah.
And each time he gets more and more, but I don't know if it's ever going to end like, because as you said, he was doing. I mean, how great were those body shots looking? And Hulk was just hulking up.
Yeah, Nick was a great striker.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting.
There, he's going for the power slam. Yeah.
My God, Nick's head was awful close there, huh?
This ref it's borderline distracting me at this point.
Nothing worse than Brits being a distraction, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. You know, we watched the Flair Von Erich match, and we talked a lot about how much the heel was giving. I mean, Boc's he's just sold and sold and sold some more. Let's see if he turns the tide now. He's moved here. Let's see.
Yeah,
that'd be a natural point, right?
I wonder if that. Yeah, I wonder if that was Hogan's finish at this point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Would make sense the way they kind of sold it, right?
Yeah.
Got like a double down here.
The crowd's very behind Hogan. I mean, it's not as loud as the Von Erich match we watch, but
right.
They're definitely with them. That also could just be the sound quality too. But Bockwinkel missed completely with that one.
Yeah, they appeared to misunderstand what the other was going to do there, huh?
Yeah,
they were only talking then. Double axe, that never fouls.
Look at those! Like those are great punches, man. When he's kind of doing overhand to the back of the neck. Oh, here's the crowd's coming up now.
It feels like Boc is trying to get Hogan to do something here, huh?
Yeah.
Like, you know when he had him in the corner there and in the middle, it was like he was trying to, and Hogan was just kind of waiting. It was interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens here next, because it sure felt like, this is interesting. This is the most Hogan's like sustained a sell in the match so far.
This is very different from the last match in how they're conveying these two look exhausted. And I mean, Bockwinkel, legendary stamina, so he's selling, but
I'm not sure brother is selling.
Yeah.
If you look at how he's moving, I think Hulkster's feeling it a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, big kick.
I don't know.
The ref like pantomiming the moves is interesting to me. Like I guess he's saying they're legal, but it's like
I don't think so. He's just popping himself. I don't know. Well, that was like a boot to the gut.
Yeah, that's.
I think Hulkster is. Yeah, I think Hulkster is struggling some, don't you?
Well, there's no way he was going to get the big boot. He was too close. But yeah, I don't know.
He appears to be clutching the top rope and all fall off.
Yeah.
Let's see where they go here. I honestly thought Bockwinkel may just take the match over for a second there, but big elbow.
Wait, was that his finish? The elbow in Japan?
I'm not sure.
Was it the lariat or the elbow?
Oh my God, the referee! Oh my God, the referee! Dude, that was unbelievable. He literally just like planted his hand and went up.
He just stopped.
He didn't just stop though. He kept going up with it.
Yeah.
Like he went 2. No, 1.8, 1.7.
Wow.
Look at
Hogan is gassed, man.
Yeah, I think they're struggling at it, man. Hulk looks like he's. Boc needs to grab a hold.
There you go.
Yeah. Look at this. He's like.
Now he's struggling with this too.
Shit. Oh, Hulk just give him a little pull up there. He's slipping because he's so sweaty too, right? Looks like.
Yeah. The commentator just said he's gone piggy on Hulk.
He's sliding off, dude. Look.
Yeah, he is.
Dude's got like 4 gallons of baby oil on him. Sweating bullets.
Hulk's working very hard to. There. Oh, there we go.
I don't know if that was exactly how I wanted to look,
pump.
but it did look pretty good, you know.
Look at that cell by the.
He did he snapped up he's like Devon Dudley.
Yeah. Oh, he's already he's getting up already. I didn't expect that.
Was that not even intended?
I have no idea. No, that can't be. He's selling too much for it to be.
Why is he getting up? Like, why is he? Oh no!
Oh, they're gonna get him again.
There you go. Okay, that makes more sense. Look at he's still at this one. Oh my god! Oh my god! He was like a body double.
I've changed my mind on him. He rules.
Yeah, 4 1/4.
Yeah,
that was incredible. Crowds. See now, that reaction there sounded more like frustration than what we got in the last time. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, exactly.
There was a boo there of like, we're really doing this again.
Oh,
there we go.
Over the top rope.
Look at
the So to recap, we went over Lord James Blears, and he sounded like the coolest dude ever. And then we watched him as a referee, and we immediately turned on him. And now we're back in because this cell is incredible. Oh, here we go.
There it is.
The leg drop. So that was his finish.
Look how much more height he used to get on that back then, dude.
And there it is. Look at the crowd.
Yeah, see, this is where I think you know me well enough to know this is true too. If I was the booker and I'd pull what they're pulling here, I would close my eyes that night and see the people and be like, oh no, I think I'm out, you know?
Exactly.
I'd have been right in that case because that was a moment in time, brother. That was the moment there. You should have pulled the trigger, right?
Look at Heenan selling it. Look at the crowd, man. You can't see half the ring because of people standing up.
The thing is, I agree with what you said earlier. Could they have capitalized? It's AWA, I don't know, but wrestling history shows you get the big picture right.
Yeah.
Then in the frame will take shape however it needs to take shape, you know? And if you look at that visual, while the ceiling may not have been quite what Vince pulled off in WWF, I think they'd have been ended up in a different position they ended up in, you know? I think
100%, yeah. I mean, they would have eventually died anyway, probably, but the heights would have been.
Well, but here's the thing, though, right? If let's say that Hogan's the champ, and they don't make a complete mess of it, it'd be interesting how TV would have seen them as a product.
That's true, yeah.
Because wrestling was much more star-driven then. Now it's very brand-oriented, you know?
Right.
Back then, they had Hulk Hogan as their champ. If he lands a couple more movie cameos or whatever it may be, there may be a hot property for TV as it kind of expands like it did, you know?
The question is, would Vern even let him do it? You know what I mean? Of course, if you're off in the summer.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Oh, mate. This takes some.
Here we go.
Look at Hulk. Owned.
Look at the crowd throwing stuff. Look at this.
Look at the ref. Look at Mr. Blaze
throwing stuff in the ring.
Yeah, see, that's a different kind of vibe, man. That's like
this is not.
That's like you've done enough, you know?
Are they changing bullshit?
Yeah.
In 1983. Wow.
Here's the thing, right? If you think he was going to leave and you didn't trust him, you still could do a short run.
Right.
Just let the pressure out of the pipes. Give him something, you know? I mean, look, as you can tell by this reaction, this is built up too because they've done this finish 15 times.
Yeah. Look at the people throwing they're like this is not good heat at all. They're like.
Do you think heat is like, oh my God?
Well, see, and they got him back. Temporarily, anyway. I mean, they don't recover from this, but they got the temporary pop at least.
I don't think it's quite the same, though, do you?
Yeah.
There's some pumping of the fist, but it don't seem quite as sincere.
Look at that sell by Heenan.
Yeah. My God. Who Blears is getting out of there?
Took the belt back. Oh,
man, I have to say, I think heat has to be one of the most interesting topics in wrestling.
yeah.
The right and wrong way to get it. Like, is this a moment in history because he never gets it back, or is it because that night the damage was done? Like, is it if Hogan wins it 2 months later? Do we even think of this?
That's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to. But that's
No.
yeah. Yeah, that is interesting because, I mean, the story is he never ends up winning it.
Yeah. Well, that's like, I mean, he's around, but he's not around like as a top.
Oh yeah, this is like his last high profile matchup. At least scrolling through his cage match, like what he does for the rest of the year. He leaves in November.
Yes.
There's nothing notable there at all.
Well, I'm looking here because I was doing a little bit of a big part of it. Apparently, was the merchandise cut.
Oh yeah.
Which, listen, I don't think either of us are desperate to take a Hulk Hogan side on any matter, but he sure won that debate, didn't he?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by it. We've talked about it before. We can get into it a little bit here before we wrap up. Okay. Look at Gene.
Hogan's about to talk here.
Good luck. It's crazy, man.
Get a little bit more volume here.
Wow. It's like you can see Hulkamania, but it's
hell of a promo there.
So I've mentioned this before on the world famous late night Grin. Pop you very much for it, shoot. But this is April 83, and at the end in October they did a couple battle royals. Actually, like 4 battle royals, I think it was.
Yeah.
With Andre in them, right? Was the story. And our friend, and by friend I mean someone that we've had a lot of fun discussing on the show, Greg Gagne claims that they did a deal in that match where the classic, they backed into each other and the place came unglued. And supposedly Vern had dates on Andre and they were securing this sort of national, NBC was what they said, right? Which is even funnier. This national deal, and the big special was going to be Hogan and Andre. He went away, and then around Christmas, he gave him famously sent like a memo, didn't he, or something? And
he said he wasn't coming back. Yeah,
and obviously that's incredible in a range of ways, but mostly in the sense that exact pairing on that network was like the most watched wrestling match ever.
Right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you believe that story?
I believe parts of the story. Okay. I believe that they were going to run that match. I don't believe the NBC part. I mean, I feel like it's probably realistic that they were going to try to run that match. Because I mean, Andre worked there.
Mm-hmm.
Andre worked everywhere back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't buy for a second that Vern had some kind of network television deal.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? A couple, by the end of the 80s, I want to say there's a lot of talk, and a lot of it, again, is from the aforementioned Greg Gagne, but there's a lot of talk about this idea that he was going to go back, and he's kind of push and pull with Vince. Supposedly for a while, he was intrigued by the idea of going back to AWA because he would basically be, at that point, he'd be king, right? Whereas with Vince, there's always a degree of, how much you believe that? In the same line, there is a complete Bischoff and Greg are on complete opposite sides of the fence in terms of Greg says he got the Hogan deal, which is almost certainly a lie. I mean, we all agree that's a lie.
Yeah.
But Eric goes as far to say that one of the big things Hulk asked was, is Greg going to be involved? Because if he is, I'm not coming. So they really don't agree on how they sort of things. But I am interested. What do you think of, I'll try and find the exact timeline. But the idea of Hogan going back and resurrecting on his own star power is so interesting, isn't it?
That's
such a weird timeline.
Yeah, when would that even be?
I'm trying to find it because I wish I'd have. Apparently, 91. So that would be
like launching a new.
Here we go. Right. WGN Network was going to bring back AWA on TV in 1991, and they offered a $6 million contract to Hulk Hogan. It says Hogan was going to meet them up in New York, but it didn't go through because of WGN's newspaper strike.
Wow.
I don't know if that's true, but that sounds incredible. I love the idea that if the strike doesn't happen, he's just
right.
AWA legend. Yeah.
Man, that's a fascinating hypothetical. Like, who do they get in 91? Well,
guys would have followed him.
Besides Brutus Beefcake, of course.
Look, Hulk is. We don't need to explain. I know either of us are big Hulk Hogan fans. We ain't got no Hulkamania banners, but when you read Bret Hart's book, you do get the sense that, like, warts and all, I should say, there was a respect for Hulk and what he did for the promotion, And like, he was a top guy who, look, man, a lot of dudes made a lot of money being on his undercard.
Yep.
With that comes a sense of loyalty, and it's like there would have been guys that got on that train.
Yeah. Speaking of undercard and loyalty, the main event of the show we just watched was Vern Gagne in a tag match coming out of retirement. So this match didn't even main event the show. Although that's the Ric Flair match from the last show we did not main event that show either. So it's a very different time for that.
Yeah, very.
As far as what match needed to be on the end of the night, that wasn't as big of a deal back then, I don't think, as it is now.
Yeah, from what I can gather, you're correct.
Which is in AEW's kind of went back to that a little, not on pay-per-view, but at least on TV, they've kind of went back to that format.
Yeah, which is, I mean, honestly, TV's a better comparison for what we've been watching because they do 4 of those. They're like,
that's true. Yeah,
maybe the Texas Stadium one would be more of the equivalent of, but you get what I mean, right? Like, the TV is basically their tour.
Right.
That's really how they work, but we've discussed that elsewhere. But I don't know, man. I don't know how the AWA thing didn't work out. Like, Hogan didn't win, and then Vern was back on top. Have you watched a lot of Vern Gagne? I'm intrigued.
I don't think I've ever seen a Vern Gagne match actually.
Well, come back for episode 25, I guess, folks. Shoot. Any final thoughts on Bock and Hogan, what we just watched?
I mean, it actually was a fun match. Hogan was definitely gassed, but it's like it was kind of what I expected in that he was moving a little bit quicker than he did in his prime WWF time. Bockwinkel was bumping all over the place for him. Last week's match was better, but so far I think we're 2 for 2 on good matches.
Yeah, I had fun with it. I will say that while I totally co-sign your take about him moving better, I do think it was noticeable how much less he understood the role.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, WWF Hulk Hogan certainly played within a certain set of parameters. Like there was a clear playbook. It worked, Right. I think it was clear he sells a lot more in WWF than we see him sell there.
Yeah.
So much so that I would actually say, while he clearly should have left as champion, I do think there's a chance looking at that match that it would have struggled slightly because he couldn't have wrestled Bockwinkel every time.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not an expert on the 83 AWA roster, but I'd imagine there weren't too many dudes that could have bumped the way Bock did for him. So it could have been challenging, I think, based on what we saw there. But we'll never know. He figured it out on a much bigger stage and made much more money. So there you go, folks. We hope you've enjoyed this. We'll be back next week for another match. This thing, as we say, every week now, airs Saturday, 6:05 Eastern, but you can get the audio feed on Wednesdays at latenightgrin.com. You can sign up. Just $1 gets you everything. That is the Burt, Tuesday through Friday, is the Late Night Grin. Grin proper, as you call it, shoot, right, every Friday night after Rampage. And you get this audio file a little early too. So we hope you're enjoying the ride so far. We look forward to the next one. In the meantime, enjoy this outro. Or how.